Red flag warning conditions as we head into the last couple of days of spring before summer begins. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Wood. So let's go over some of the elevated fire danger that we're going to see. Critical fire weather potentially, especially for the front range of the Sierra. We've got some thunderstorms, and with those outflow winds, that's going to elevate the fire danger. Have that emergency evacuation plan ready to go. A couple of pockets of fire weather watches out there as well. Again, thunderstorms, some of them may be dry, lightning, dry brush, and we could see some fires starting and spreading rather quickly for Thursday and Friday. Again, final days of spring here, wrapping up with some elevated fire danger. You can see how things really start to develop during the afternoon on Friday, especially for the front range on the east side of the crest, right along I-80, just off to the east of Reno. So pockets of those isolated thunderstorms really developing along the Sierra spine. Some of those moving their way over the border, kind of that wrap around just off to the east of Susanville, one of the areas, again, that we'll be tracking for the elevated fire danger. This is all underway on Friday. We're in the red, high category for the potential of lightning-sparked fires all through the Sierra spine and then towards the northern end of the valley as well as the coastal range. So again, high elevation storms are going to be posing more and more of a risk as we dig deeper into the season. You can see our energy release component starts to move up into that dry fuels category. That just means where's the energy to burn, and we're moving in that direction. This is for the far east side of the state, and then one of the areas that we're going to be seeing some of the critical fire weather. Right now we're at 54%, just on kind of the neutral stage, but about to bump up into that dry fuels category by the weekend. All right, fire season so far is somewhat in line with what we usually see for this time of year. 5-year average sees about 3,100 fires at this point in the year. We've seen 2,300, but we have burned close to 65,000 acres. Usually we're in the range of about 48,000 acres. Last year we had the Palisades and the Eaton fires, and so that boosted those early season numbers quite quickly. We were close to about 90,000 acres burned. So again, our fire season so far, they've been able to attack pretty much all the fires that have started and shown some rapid growth. They've been able to attack those pretty quickly, but keep in mind, resources become very thin as the season drags on, our peak part of the season, that is. And so getting resources out to some of those fires isn't as easy as it is in the beginning part. Preventing a spark, keep vehicles off of dry grass, watch for dragging vehicle parts, mow lawns, not dry grass or weeds, properly dispose of cigarettes and matches. Each one of these categories have sparked fires that have been difficult to contain. So a good thing to keep in mind as we dig deeper into the dry season. The Go Bag 5 Ps, have a bag for each person in the household. Remember your pets. Get those important papers, and it may even include a paper map. If your GPS goes out on your cell phone, you always want to make sure you know that evacuation route. Have your prescriptions ready and those photos, those mementos that you want to grab and take along with you. So summer is upon us as we head into the weekend. Summer weather risks include wildfires and thunderstorms with lightning-sparked fires. Also floods. We could see some heavy downpours on some pretty browned out and dried brush, and that can result in some debris flows, especially in any burn scars. Air quality becomes an issue. Smoke and ozone. We'll be talking about that. Heat with heat illness and waterways. Although the air temperature is hot, the waterways, they're cold and they're still fast. Spare the air season. It has already started, got underway May 1st, goes all the way through October 31st. Here's the reason why. Sunlight combined with some of these volatile organic compounds, things like emissions from vehicles, industrial facilities, even some of the yard equipment, combines with the sunlight and it creates ozone. With very little airflow, the valley is like a bowl. It just traps all of that ozone and eventually becomes smog in the valley, and it makes for pretty poor air quality. We've been okay so far, but the health impacts include irritated eyes, throat and lungs, coughing, wheezing, reduced lung function, and worsened respiratory illnesses if you have asthma or something like that. It certainly can make it hard to get outdoors. So simple actions: trying to keep the air a little cleaner, drive less, choose transit or carpool, walk or cycle if you can, and use low or zero emission vehicles. That always helps to reduce some of the emissions that build in the valley. Daylight changes. Well, we have ample time to get some of that sunlight to create the mixture of the volatile organic compounds and creating smog. We're in one of those time frames where we have the most access to daylight. Our sunrise on the summer solstice on Sunday is at 5:42. The sunset not until 8:34. Now, comparatively, you go about a month later, and we're seeing that sunrise at 6 a.m. So we're starting to deepen the time frame here of when we see that sunrise, and our sunset knocks off about 10 minutes or so. So our daylight hours start to shrink. That doesn't necessarily mean the heat starts to go away, but we are starting to take away some of the daylight. As far as the vernal equinox, what we're coming out of here, springtime season, that's when the center of the sun is directly above the equator, and the amount of daylight is equal across all parts. Then we go into the summer solstice. That happens on or around June 20th. It just so happens this year it's on June 21st for at least the West Coast. And at that point, the Arctic Circle is getting 24 hours of daylight. It's the first day of summer, the center of the sun directly above the Tropic of Cancer. As we move into the next season upon us, that's going to be around September 22nd, autumnal equinox. That's when we hit fall, the center of the sun directly above the equator. Again, 12 hours of daylight across each part of the Arctic, as well as the Antarctic, and then the equator, Tropic of Capricorn, Tropic of Cancer as well. And then opposite of our summer solstice is, of course, our winter solstice, center of the sun directly above the Tropic of Capricorn. That's when we enter into winter, and then the southern hemisphere is having summer-like conditions. So sign of heat stress. We're so far from the winter solstice. We are barely hitting the summer solstice here. So in the summertime, heat exhaustion would be something like you're thirsty, dizzy, nausea, cool, clammy skin, sweating a lot. But when it goes into something a notch up, that's heat stroke. Perhaps someone has a headache, or you have a headache, red, hot, dry skin, and there's no sweating. It's a 911 situation. Both kinds of heat stress, you definitely want to get medical attention. Too hot to trot, got to think about our pets as well. Those conditions are warming quickly. With air temperatures in the 90s and 100s, the concrete can exceed well above that. So good rule of thumb, take the back of your hand, put it on whatever surface you're going to be walking your pet. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for their little paws. And you want to bring them indoors and find another activity, perhaps even some grass to go run around on. Cooling savings. Oh, we know those electric bills are starting to soar. We're now into the peak rates. So only use fans when in a room. They cool people, not rooms. Set the air conditioner to 78 degrees if you can tolerate it. Close the drapes and blinds during the day. Keep the sun out of the house and stop it from warming things up. And also don't use big appliances in the afternoon when we hit our peak temperatures. All those are going to do is warm up that environment inside. Plus, you're paying for peak rates at that point. The warmest that we've hit so far for Sacramento, 102. That was on June 12th. We hit 100 on June 13th, but really we've been largely in the 80s and 90s thus far in the spring season through the beginning of summer even. We're going to keep it below that 100-degree threshold. So we've only hit 2 days of 100-degree temperatures. Usually for the entire year, we get 15. We have about 3 days on average of 105+ degree temperatures. Now, the record number of 100+ degree days that we've seen, 35, and we hit that 3 times, 1960, 61, and 1988. In fact, some of the warmest temperatures that we've seen over the past decade or so have been well within that 110, 114 range. Just 2 years ago, 2024, we hit that 110 in July. Last year, we warmed up to 103. That was it. We didn't get to that 105 high temperature. But the 2 seasons before that, definitely on the warm side. 2022 was actually even warmer than that. That's when we hit one of our all-time record highs. So the hottest ever in Sacramento from the point of record through 2026 is 115. That was hit on June 15th, 1961. They did some recalibration of some of the monitoring sites, though, so the climate data has been starting to get mixed in with the Sacramento Executive and the Sacramento City. So from 1995 to current record keeping, the hottest max temperature was on September 5th and 6th in 2022 when we hit 114. So a little bit of, some mixed results there, but it gives you an idea. Basically, we can hit up to 115 in Sacramento. Now, we can also hit these record stretches of 100+ degree temperatures without a break. The longest stretch that we've had, 10 days, did not drop below 100 degrees. That was back in 1960 during that stretch, July 15th through the 24th, September 1st through the 9th in 2022. And again, in 1996, we had 9 days of consecutive 100-degree temperatures. And then we've also hit 8 consecutive 100-degree stretches. So those are kind of the benchmarks of the high end of things. Usually we'll hit about 3 to 4 days, and then we'll get a weather pattern shift and things will start to change. Our average high temperatures are on their way up. We are about to enter the month that we see the average high at its peak, July 92.6 degrees. And we hit kind of a stretch of several days where we're hitting highs that are at that benchmark, and then we'll start to cool things down. August, we start to see slightly cooler weather, but I just showed you September 2022, we hit the all-time record high temperature of 114 on the 5th and 6th if you're going from 1995 to current record keeping. So certainly as the environment starts to warm, our temperatures can easily bump up into those extreme conditions. Another thing that we're going to be tracking this season is the developing very strong El Nino. We're already in El Nino pattern. We've warm temperatures for consecutive months in the equatorial Pacific above that 0.5 degrees Celsius threshold. And it can have implications beyond the winter season. Now, that's when we're expecting to see that very strong El Nino take shape, November, December, January. But in El Nino years, we historically have seen our baseline of average global temperatures notch up, setting a new baseline. So this year is going to be one to watch. It's very likely that we're going to bump those temperatures up once again, especially if it's a very strong El Nino. We're just in the beginning phases, so it's too early to tell if this is really going to have impacts on our afternoon highs for the summer season, but El Nino could last up to 2 years, so we could be heading into next summer with some pretty extreme conditions. In terms of our drought, this is the latest drought outlook, and through September, things are actually looking decent enough. It looks like drought is going to develop in the northern part of the state. That's been pretty consistent and persisting on the east side and just on that northwest corner. But other than that, as far as Southern California, we got a pretty good rainy season behind us, and that really helped to minimize some of the growing dryness. So we still have some dryness on the east side of the state up through the northern part, and again, some moderate drought in pockets on the east and northwest corner there. Overall, it looks like that is going to stay status quo through July, August, September. We don't get any rain, so there's not going to be much change here. But it's also at this point that we get the water at its highest demand. So we're at kind of that turning point where we go from storing water to really pulling that resource throughout the valley. It's also the time when we deal with the highest heat, and then we'll start the whole cycle over again. Our water supply looking really good. These are the latest numbers. Just pulled these into this graphic here. We're anywhere from about 85 to 95% full, and roughly about 100 to 120 plus percent above what we usually see at this point in the season. Even that being said, we didn't have a great snowpack. It melted off really early. Water managers have had to really be challenged with how to feed the water supply this year. Anywhere from about 65 to 95% of capacity right now for many of the central reservoirs. Keep in mind, San Luis, that's that off-stream pump water reservoirs that will send water down along the California aqueduct into Southern California. Now, when these reservoirs make releases, keep in mind, our water temperatures are really going to vary. Very dangerous. It can take your breath away when we're talking about readings that are in the 50s. And if any releases are happening, it makes the water run a little bit faster, making for very difficult rescues. So American River below Folsom, only 56 degrees. Now compare that to the Sacramento River and the Delta. We're in the 70s. That's because it's farther from the snowmelt and any water releases. The water is going to be quite a bit warmer. We get that snow melt, feeds the reservoirs. When they do those releases, it's from the very bottom with the cold, dense water that's at the bottom. And that's why we see some of the very cold flows coming out of those reservoirs. This is our whole California water conveyance system. Very complex. It's like a spider web of network. So here's where the San Luis Reservoir is right there. It goes down the California aqueduct, will eventually feed Southern California. But the wettest part of California is north of Sacramento. Most of the water usage south of Sacramento. So it's, again, one of those things we have to store it up north, send it down south. Lots of infrastructure there to try to make that happen. 90-day climate outlook. This is going to take us right through the summer season, likely wetter for the monsoonal areas here in the desert Southwest. That could prove to give the support necessary to get some thunderstorms going in the Sierra. And it's something that certainly could get some wildfires going as well with any lightning sparked fires. On the flip side of things, looking at the temperature, 90-day climate outlook is likely wetter. Parched soils certainly will be the case. Our immediate forecast, we've got the thunderstorm risk on Friday, heading into our first day of summer on Sunday. Looks like sunny skies and highs in the 70s for the Tahoe Basin, 80s for the foothills and along the coast. This is the time of year it's always challenging because you come out of the valley, we're in the 100s, and then you get to the coast and it's foggy and in the 60s. A great place to get relief from the valley heat, but also you got to prepare for that with bringing a sweatshirt or something. 7-day forecast includes Juneteenth in the low 80s. Then we get back to near average temperatures by the first day of summer, Father's Day near 90. And the first full week of summer pretty much on par for what we usually see, right around 90, 94 degrees. Nothing too extreme. And as you can see, no 100s up there as well.